I'm Craig Rowan with Altstadt Brewery in Fredericksburg, Texas, and I am here with your craft beer and brewing tip of the week. So the Munich Helles uses the four basic ingredients that the Reinheitsgebot of 1516 allows German brewers to use. It uses grain, it uses water, it uses hops, and it uses yeast. All of these are very vital into making a good, proper Munich Helles. So we'll start with the first one, which is the grain. If you're going to use grain for a Munich Helles, you want to use German malt. So you could get away with using some North American varieties on this just for the protein content and to get the body. British malts don't quite have the protein content to get the body right, but even if you use American malt, it's still grown here, so it doesn't quite have that flavor. So if you want the true authentic taste of a Munich Helles, you want German Pilsner malt. Preferably, you would want to go with pale German Pilsner malt, just to get the color as pale as you can. At Altstadt, we use the regular German Pilsner malt from Weyermann. We use it in a lot of things as our base malt, and it works totally fine. It works spectacularly. So if you can only get Pilsner malt, not the pale Pilsner malt, don't sweat it. But I would strongly recommend basically just doing pale Pilsner or Pilsner malt from Germany, and then North American, if you're in a pinch, is fine. What we'll do at Altstadt is we'll also add a little bit of dextrin malt in. So what a dextrin malt will do is when it goes to the maltster, it's sort of pre-mashed where it starts the enzymatic reaction a little bit, and it creates more of those dextrinous sugars that aren't fermentable, and they'll create body later on. So it's really good to help build body. So if you're brewing and you find your end product is lacking a little bit, dextrin malts such as Carafoam or Carapils would do great. Just about 5% in the brew should do it. Try that and see where you go. Make sure that it's not something that will darken the beer. You can get it 1.5 Lovabahn and it won't darken the beer. It'll keep it light. So that's totally acceptable. Avoid caramel and crystal malts. A little bit of caramel malt, if you want to experiment and not mess with the color too much, is okay. That could add really, good flavors and some body, but you don't want to get too crazy with it. My initial advice would be to avoid caramel malts when you're starting out. Under no circumstances use any 6-row malt from North America or anywhere. You will never get the clarity you can get unless you bring the protein content down. Adjuncts such as corn or rice, which is verboten in a German beer. 6-row malt, no. With water, the water that comes from Munich tends to skew a little to the hard side. What they do in Munich is they'll add the hop. That the water gives it a little bit of a perceived bitterness, but really not much. So that a little bit of hops. The IBU count is, Altstadt will do it at 20, but it doesn't really go over 25. You don't want to go much more than that because the water will show it and the hops aren't the star here. So if you have water that's a little too hard, a little too alkaline, and you need to lower it, the best tool that you could use is calcium chloride. Gypsum will also bring the acidity, but it tends to lend more to perceived bitterness, which helps the hops, or calcium chloride will bring it down and will really help bring out that malt character. I don't use any gypsum at all. Our Munich Lager, it's just calcium chloride to bring it down, and it matches the water profile of Munich really well. Water is one of the coolest but most difficult things to do right and really study and get into. There's lots of tremendous programs where you can get your water profile from your city, or you could just use RO water to get perfectly alkaline water and then put that into a program and see how much of magnesium or calcium chloride or salts that need to bring up because your water's too acidic. Strongly recommend looking into those and then learning how the formulas work and then get your water right. It does take some experimentation, but once you get your hands on it and really understand how the water works, it's really rewarding and really cool, and really helps to make the beer as authentic as if it came from that region of the world where that water is just that water. For more on brewing a great Munich-style Helles, just click the link below.